Today, we are honored to have Prince Boateng, the Human Resource Manager of Crown Prince Academy, to lead this discussion. With a strong focus on academic leadership and teacher development, brings practical expertise in transforming teaching and learning in Ghanaian schools. Her HR leadership at Crown Prince has been instrumental in shaping a high-performing school culture, making her an ideal voice for today's discussion on teacher performance tracking. So at this point, we would like to let Prince Boateng continue with her presentation.
Hi, good morning, everyone. And thank you, Julian, for the introduction. Julian, I want to find out if you have my presentation and if you'll be projecting that for me. Excellent. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So good morning once again. Today, I'm honored to speak on this topic that I believe is of great importance to us all when you're in education. As Julian rightly mentioned, great facilitators determine the direction of your school, the reputation of your school, but most importantly, the product. And when we talk about the product is the learners in the school and what we are impacting into the learners. So how are we ensuring that what is going on, we have foresight of what's happening in the classroom and that what is happening in the classroom is meeting the standards that we have outlined for our facilitators. So today's presentation is very important, and I would like to share what we do in our institution. And at the end of the day, I would love your feedback, and as well, if it can be a little discussion, get some questions answered, as well as hear how you go about it in your various institutions. So on to the next slide, please. Just like a lesson, this is our objective for today. I will begin with just a little about me, introduce myself briefly, and then we discuss what performance review is, or we all know what it is, but primarily what it isn't. Why should we conduct it in the first place? What process do we use in our institution? It might be different from what you have been exposed to or what you know. I would just speak about what we use in our institution and how it's helped us over the years. And then the 5 focus areas, what we focus on in our performance appraisal. As well, I will discuss the 360 observation method. Then we'll come down to the recognizing and rewarding performance, how we go about that, as well as the PIP, which is the performance improvement plan, or what we would like to umbrella as the support we provide to some of the facilitators. Then we'll come down to the Q&A. Since we're already behind time, let me go as fast as possible so we can get the main substance of today's conversation. Okay, so I think we will go to a little about me before this. Perfect. Okay, so as Julian rightly said, I'm Prince Boateng. I am currently the HR director at Crown Prince Academy. I would say I'm quite passionate about education, primarily for 2 reasons. I basically was born in a school, and in saying that, my parents are the co-owners of Crown Prince Academy. So even during my breaks, I was in the school supporting. When I was done with my BC, I worked in the school as well. Anytime I had any break, I went to support. So that was the very first initiation or interest that I had in education. And over time, when I actually dived into helping full-time in the school, my main goal was how to help the facilitators and the learners, because when I was young and in the same shoes and seats as these learners, I struggled with reading. And for the longest time, because I was very good at memorizing, the facilitators could not identify that I really had a problem. And once, even though they identified some of them, they didn't know how to rightly support this challenge that I had. And this is a challenge that, if not helped in the very early stages, it goes on, you carry it on for a very long time. And in being currently in institution or being in education, I notice a lot of learners have similar challenges with their phonetics, with reading, comprehending. And if it's not, you don't help them, they generally would think it's a confidence issue. But it's really not a confidence issue. It's just that we need to help with these fundamentals to just guide them, because not all learners are the same. But that really determines, are you a mediocre teacher to identify this problem, or are you a good teacher or a great teacher to really inspire this learner and help identify their challenge? So I am a graduate of the University of Waterloo. I studied human resources there, and currently I am developing a platform to connect people in education. Maybe if you have questions, I will answer a bit more at the end regarding that. So today we are just here to reflect on what makes a great facilitator, because in education, it's not just about delivering content, it's about inspiring minds, shaping future, and beyond that, we are guiding and empowering our learners. The way the facilitator thinks really shapes the critical thinking of the learner, and that's our future, right? So I think that's what we are all very passionate about. You don't go into education as much as there might be a business aspect of it. It's really because you're passionate about the future and the learners that are going to shape that future. So let's move to the next slide while we dive more into how we can achieve that. So I think we all understand, as I said earlier, what performance review is. We know that it's some type of evaluation. It's more structured. We're really trying to determine the strengths and challenges of our facilitators with the overall goal to support learning and to support the learners in the institution, and overall to help the reputation of our institution as well, to be known as a good school because we care about our product. What we are not trying to do, and I really emphasize this because I found myself guilty of this, is we're not trying to judge or police. I don't know how many principals we have here or heads of schools we have on the webinar today, but you find that sometimes when you're walking in the classrooms and we have various types of observations as we'll get on, but these walk-in observations, you are sometimes trying to catch them in the act. I don't think I'm alone in saying this. And I always have to remind myself that's not the goal of my observation. It's really to identify what is happening that is right and what is happening that may need some correction and guidance. So that's the first thing that I want us to clear here, that we are not trying to judge or police, but we're trying to provide a fair and meaningful feedback that will help them grow and help our learners. So there are certain key elements that we will find in a performance reviews. The first one is determining the purpose. So we want to assess and support the quality of teaching and professionalism. Then the scope of it, which includes the planning, from the point of planning, what your appraisal policy will look like, to your appraisal form itself, and then how you will go about initiating the process of appraisal with your facilitators. Then we go down to the method. How are we going to achieve it? Okay, then the outcome. It has to be clear insights, and then we look at, are we going to recognize them? What kind of support would we provide for those that need? So there are key elements that we really, any standard performance review has to follow. At the end, if there's anything that I'm missing, please help me. But these I have found in my experience to be the four main elements that we always look at. On to the next slide, please. Let's highlight why we actually conduct performance reviews, or what we term appraisals. First and foremost, there's the general before the benefit to the school. So we want to maintain and raise educational quality. That's the very first goal that we have. The second is to identify the facilitator's strengths and growth areas, as I've mentioned quite a few times in this introduction. The third is we are encouraging continuous professional growth. We'll find gone were the days where someone will come and they only have a teacher's training certificate, and then they think you're qualified to be a teacher. Now you actually need a lot more than that. And beyond even having certification, you need to consistently update and upgrade yourself. So this really encourages that and actually ensures that we don't have an oversight of it, but we actually ensure that all teachers are up to date. It's also to protect the learner's growth and outcome, which probably should even be at the top of my reasons, but it's also, all of these are key. And then to boost morale and accountability. We'll find that sometimes if you look at the lesson plans, I don't know if we all use lesson plans, some have debates on why it's important or why it's not. We really value lesson plans because we find it as the roadmap. You'll find that sometimes lesson plans will be developed, or schemes of learning will be developed. However, the facilitator goes into the classroom and that's completely contrary to it. The Resources have been stated, but none are taken to the classroom. So this actually guides them into accountability. I'm coming to observe you based on this lesson plan that you have prepared. How well are you matching what you have written in there? So we're really trying to encourage accountability with this performance review or appraisal. Now, the benefit to our institutions is higher student achievement. We know that most of us, I believe, are in the GES structure, so BEC, it's quite a big deal, where people at the end, parents are checking, where is this school performing? Is this a good school? And it's always, as much as I don't entirely agree, but that's another conversation, that the BEC should not be the only mark of determining a good school. Unfortunately, in our society, parents use this as a benchmark to determine if a school is good or not. And even facilitators do, and we ourselves, we find ourselves wanting. The second is a stronger school reputation, similar to the higher student achievement. And then you have more motivated and skilled facilitators. If your facilitators believe that in this institution, if I go above and beyond, I'm recognized for it, they will be a lot more encouraged to do so. And also you get to maintain that skilled facilitator because they feel valued in your institution, as opposed to I'm doing consistently, but you're not recognizing, let me go to another school that may recognize what I'm doing. Or you will be surprised, facilitators really want feedback and want to determine how they can grow in your institution or how they can improve their lesson delivery. So you're also helping and supporting them. So you're motivating and also improving their talents as facilitators. We also are able to identify early the challenges that our facilitators may have. And then we have informed data. This is so important. And that's why we always say it's not about judging, but now you get to know, how do I shape my training? If, for example, we're going to bring an external consultant or a trainer to support our facilitators, where exactly are they struggling in that this training can focus on? Because sometimes management will be at the top and they just say, okay, we need to have training on classroom management. Do your team actually struggle with classroom management? You wouldn't know until you have actually looked at the data to determine, indeed, from this rubric, we have noticed majority of our facilitators are struggling with discipline and classroom management. And then it matches the kind of training you will provide for them. So these are key reasons why every institution must, regardless how your performance review will look like, it may look like mine today, or it may look different, but it's extremely important, as you will find, to have a running and at least annual performance review done on your facilitators. Okay, so the process. In our institution, Crown Prince, we always start by determining the 5 focus areas. We never knew it was called 5 focus areas until we started. And I have a next slide that would delve a bit more into the 5 focus areas. So we first started by determining we needed to have a performance appraisal. We researched, and when I say we, myself, the HR director, with the heads of the institution. So in CPA, we have 2 main heads. So we have them on board as we develop this document. Then after that, we go on to develop the appraisal form. So in the form, at the beginning, there is a policy. This helps guide anyone that will pick up the form to better understand, what is this form for? What is the goal of this form? What are we trying to achieve? And how should it be used? Because the reality is, today you could have a principal, tomorrow it could be another principal coming. You don't always want to start from scratch. You want them to have a working document that they can pick up and only update and review, as opposed to now coming to start from scratch. So you need an appraisal form that has a bit of policy attached to it. And then we go on to conduct a facilitator workshop. This third point is extremely, what we have found, really gets the buy-in of the team, of the facilitators you're going to observe. You're getting their input, they're involved in the entire document, not from the inception of creating it, however, from truly understanding what it's about. I have a slide that I'll discuss the key pointers in this workshop and how we approach our workshops that we have found really gets the buy-in of our team. Then we proceed, after all of these 3 key points are done, we have a pre-observation meeting. This is a one-on-one with the facilitator, and then you draw up when they will be available and when you'll be coming for the scheduled observation. As I mentioned, they are the scheduled observations, and then they are the walk-ins, the ones that we just come into your classroom. It's not planned, and we get to see what is happening. So you kind of give them heads up, you show them the form, they go through it again, and they know exactly what you're looking out for. It's always best that this is, if you're using the academic year, then this is started on the first term. So we use the academic year and not the calendar year. So the academic year will start September. We have a one-on-one with the facilitators because we will begin some type of informal in the first term. Every school structure is very different. This is how we go about it. The first term is for everyone to warm up and settle in. It's just very informal observations. Second term is where we actually start the formal observations. So we draw up a timetable and then we follow through with the timetable. Then the third is the 360 observation. Again, I have a slide. I'll go a lot more into detail on what I refer to as 360 observation. Once observation is done, you have a post-observation feedback where you give them feedback on how you have observed them, how their performance was, any feedback that they may have. It's a good discussion point. So sometimes they may say, oh, I actually agree with you, or they may have reasons for certain things. And then once we are done compiling, we come down to the rewarding of the excellent performance and then providing support for those who are unsatisfactory. Okay. So we can move to the next slide then. Apologies, a lot has moved up out of order in the slides. However, I will just mention them because the first one is covered. So in CPA, we use these 5 focus areas. And even in our workshops with the facilitators, everyone will say something similar and you group them in these umbrellas. So the very first one is planning and organization. This is in the class. So how well the facilitator prepares their lessons, how they are organizing their materials and managing time and resources to support the learner. So we have in our document a number of questions that will go under planning and organization. So starting from, do they submit their scheme of learning on time? That's 1. So we mark our appraisal from 0 to 4. 0, and then at the end we weigh it, and then you get a sum, and that sum determines where you fall. If you want, at the end of this presentation, I can share a sample of our documents with you to better help you understand, or I can actually project as well and share with you what ours looks like. But this helps us to create fairness. So every question under each category or area is giving a total, a weight. So planning and organization may be given 20%. We will accumulate everything. So let's say under submission of your scheme of learning, you get 3. And then all the different questions based on what you get, it's added and divided to get the sum and the percentage. So at the end, the entire document is summed together. There's, in the explanation of how to use the documents, we explain exactly how you should go about the adding and division to get the percentage for each facilitator. If the facilitator falls in the 90 to 100%, they are excellent teachers. Also in this document, we go to really explain what we mean by an excellent teacher, what we mean by a very good teacher, what we mean by a good teacher, satisfactory and unsatisfactory. So it's extremely clear to everyone what we are looking for, what the standard is, what above standard looks like, and what below standard looks like. So this is really the guiding frame for this document. So the very first one, as I mentioned, is the planning and organization. So your institution may look different. Maybe you give 50% weight to your planning and organization because it means a lot to your institution on how you define who an excellent teacher is. That would be your institution. You could give assessment 20%. We place a lot of emphasis on assessment because this is an area that we will find that facilitators tend to be a lot more lazy on, and sorry for using the word lazy, because however, it is the truth. However, this is the part that is extremely important. So in Crown Prince, we actually create assessment forms for our learners. In CPA, we have these monthly, and we actually do it twice in the term for every learner. So the facilitator is to go out and fill their assessment of the learner. That's one way of assessing. The second is by using the Bloom's taxonomy. How is each facilitator setting questions to match what they have actually taught that day? You don't just focus on understanding and knowledge. That is very low level of critical thinking. We are expecting that they really mix the type of questions that they are asking. There should be some creation. There should be some analysis happening. There should be some clear understanding, and there will be regular explain what you understand by this. But we need these questions and assessment to be very varied, and not just one level type of thinking that doesn't allow the learners to think creatively. So we place a lot of emphasis on assessment. Secondly, how are they going about their corrections? Some facilitators will just mark and then write 2/10 without looking at it as a way to similarly assess how the learner is performing. So if a learner is getting 2/10, you're not just trying to rank the learner and say, you got 2/10, you're not a good student. No, it's to determine, okay, that means what I taught in the classroom, you didn't very well understand it. It seems, number one, this particular question was easy for you. Let's skip that. Come and meet me. Let's answer the various questions that you struggled to answer. Let's figure out what exactly you didn't understand, and then let's see how we can support you. So it's the same way they are being appraised, they have to use the assessment to guide their learners. So that's why the assessment is extremely important for us, because of how we look at it. Then we look at the instructional process and classroom management. That's how are they going about their delivery? Are they ensuring that every learner is being accounted for, or are they only focusing on the front role of the classroom? Are they walking around? Do they include some group work? Do they match the kind of activity to the lesson that they are delivering? Or is it always the same? The learners are always seated in rows, they are never grouped, there's never group work happening or presentations happening. We're really looking in detail of how the facilitator is managing their classroom. As well, is the classroom rowdy? Are learners just making noise? Is the facilitator struggling to have control? How is their time management in the classroom? Are they able to achieve everything within the allotted time, or were they over ambitious? Are they writing the objectives on the board? We're really looking at everything. And so if you look at the form, all of these questions are well spelled out, so you can take and put numbers to it, and if it's done frequently or if it's rarely done. Lastly, we're looking at professionalism and involvement. We're not just looking at what they're doing inside the classroom, but what are they doing outside of the classroom as well? When it's time for a teacher to be on duty, do you have to go and call this facilitator? How is their relation with parents? Are they very unprofessional, calling parents, reaching out to them, or are they very professional and guiding parents to the office? We're looking at all of this. We also would even look at their HR file. What's their punctuality like? Are they late to attend their lessons? We look at the entire scope, so that will come more in details when I talk about the 360 observation. Then we're looking at relation. Do they build a good rapport with their learners? How are they fostering that relationship with their colleagues and parents of the institution and the management as well? It's very important. So for us, we have found that these 5 areas are extremely important for the institution. I really love to hear from you what else you do in your institution at the Q&A section. Next slide, please. All right. So I'll quickly go on the workshop. As I mentioned earlier, once we are done with the appraisal form, we schedule a workshop. So this involves every facilitator. And we begin by asking them what they understand by a good facilitator. We take feedback from anyone that puts up their hand, and we write it down. Then we go on to ask, what do you think an excellent facilitator is? Who do you think they are? What are some characteristics that they embody? Similarly, we write them down. We capture all these points, and then we compare to the document. You will find that facilitators are very well aware of what is expected of them. Anytime we've had these workshops, you will always find they will mention things that are in the document. And so it clearly for them shows that you know what is expected. We're all on the same page. This document is just to guide and observe the things that you already know are necessary to make your lesson and your overall performance good. This also ensures that their words are matching the evaluation standards and that you're getting the buy-in of your facilitators. So we find that this is very important, and if possible, should not be skipped. And we would never skip it in our institution because of the benefits that it's brought us and the buy-in we have received from our facilitators. Next slide, please. All right, so in CPA, we use the 360 observation. That means we're not just evaluating what's happening inside the classroom, but also what's happening outside of the classroom, as I mentioned earlier. It's a holistic view of the facilitator's performance and based on agreed standards with the school leadership. So we are looking at the professional conduct, their punctuality, their reliability, their attitude. How are they with their colleagues? Also team collaboration, participation in school life. Are they involved in any clubs? Do they take up any extra duties, or do they just want to limit their job description to what is happening inside of the classroom? We look at communication as well. How are they responsive with parents and learners of the institution, as well as the relationship that they have outside of the classroom? Are they invested in the learner? That you would even notice this learner is usually bubbly, suddenly they have changed. Draw someone's attention, like the counselor. I notice, let's say, Kofi in my class, he is always bubbly, but suddenly for the past 2 weeks, he's been very down. Can you reach out to him and find out if everything is okay with him? The teacher is very invested in their learners, and it's not just focused on their delivery and that's it. Also, we look at the initiative and their general contribution. So we look at the 360, and we do not just focus on what is happening in the classroom. We find that it's very necessary because true, you find that the attitude that they possess outside of the classroom similarly matches what they do inside of the classroom. When they have a lackadaisical approach, or they aren't bought into the school's vision, it would similarly apply in what they are delivering in the classroom. So it's very important to weigh everything. And sometimes what we have found is you have a teacher that is very invested in extracurricular. He's doing amazing. Very flexible. You can rely on him. But when it comes to the classroom, he is struggling, not because he doesn't have an interest in it or he doesn't love what he does. He's just genuinely struggling and needs support. Someone like this, when you observe their general performance, it helps you guide them on how you can properly support them. And you understand that this person isn't intentionally doing what he's doing in the classroom. You're able to properly judge and understand how to best support this facilitator. So the 360 we have found is a great way of looking at the holistic performance of the facilitator. So now it's all done. We have gone through the process. It's been a year now, 3 terms. You have finished your performance appraisal form. You've had your workshop. You've conducted all the observations. You've had your pre and post interviews with the facilitators. You've done the additions, and now you know exactly your top performing facilitators and the facilitators that need support. Now, how do you recognize the top performing facilitators? As we mentioned earlier, there are benefits to recognizing them. It builds rapport, it motivates them, and it makes you retain these qualified facilitators. Very first, easy approach, certificate of excellence. You can do a recognition. They have this when they have it in their file, they have it for their own possession. It's an easy approach. The second is you general recognition. And if you have a staff platform, you can put it on the staff platform, you can put it on the newsletter. In front of the institution, you can have best teacher of the term or best teachers of the term. There are many ways that you can go about recognizing them publicly as well. There are also leadership opportunities. We have found that in the school, there aren't that many rankings up in terms of hierarchy. However, there are certain opportunities that they can take up where they can head certain committees. So you can give them some leadership opportunities to head committees, to organize activities in the institution or programs. Whatever you find will be best to motivate your facilitators, that would be the best approach to go with. In our institution, we do a mix of both, a mix of the above. However, we focus primarily on the bonuses. So bonuses, we have a stipulated amount for the facilitators who have performed excellently and for the facilitators who have performed very good. Those are the two categories that are rewarded. So we find that good is the standard expectation of all facilitators. So we start to recognize from very good and excellent. And we look at the excellent facilitators as modeled facilitators who would be used in turn to support the non-satisfactory and satisfactory performing facilitators. What most institutions that I found more in the corporate environment, they do a pay increase. So pay can be increased either vertically or horizontally. So you're looking at either the making up for inflation, general increase in salary, or you're looking at increasing vertically for the performance. So you find that there's a range in people's salary because one, they've been in the institution for a very long time, or two, because they are outperforming their colleagues. So we try and stay away from that in our institution, and we prefer the bonuses as opposed to permanent increment in salaries. You have to look at what is sustainable for your institution, what you can keep doing without affecting your school, without affecting your budget, what you can sustain that you can keep your word and your bond to, as opposed to saying we are going to be increasing the salaries, and then you find that we are unable to sustain that structure because now the salary of the school the budget for salaries has increased beyond what you can actually sustain. So very much this should be shaped per your institution. You have to look at what your institution can achieve, and then you shape it based on that. So we are looking at bonuses because this is what we find sustainable for our institution. So feel free to select which is most attainable for your institution. And to the lab. All right. So performance improvement plan. I keep calling the support performance improvement plan because in CPA, that's what we use. We focus on the performance improvement plan, which you find will have snippets of the others I have listed in this particular slide. So it's generally support. You are done with the appraisal and you found that some of your facilitators indeed need support. You go back to the document and you will look at which focus area they performed the least in. So was it in relations? Was it in planning and organization? Was it in their professionalism? Where were they struggling? And then you go to provide that support, because it could be that in instructional and classroom management, they performed great. So they generally they were getting fours entirely. They don't need support there. That's why this way of assessing them is so important, because you're able to tailor their support to the individual. We create a performance improvement plan. In our institution, we look at either a 30-day, a 45-day, or a 60-day performance improvement plan. Sometimes we go up until 90-day performance improvement plan. And with this, we set goals and we have regular check-ins with the facilitator. What we have recently introduced is the peer observation. So where you have the top or excellent performing facilitators conduct their lessons, and then the other facilitators sit in and observe. Vice versa, we have both observe each other. So you would come and observe one facilitator, and they will come and observe yours. And at the end, you give constructive feedback to each other. So we've been really playing around. We're playing around. Maybe playing around would not be, and I don't want to use experimenting, but we really have been testing out these various ways of providing support. And we have found that this peer observation has been very impactful because it's guards down. The facilitators are there to help each other. They are there to give feedback that they know their peer colleagues, their fellow colleagues will benefit from. So we do a mix of that with the regular feedback, and we then go ahead to observe the facilitator again. And this is done every year. So we do annual observations, and we ensure that we can give timely. Timely is very important, because if you wait too long, we generally know that the essence will be lost. So it's important the minute we are done with these observations and you've had your post-observation meeting, that you begin to work on the support so it can be timely and they can actually see the direct impact of that support. I believe this must be my last slide. Yes, okay. Thank you so much for your attention, and we can move on to questions and answers now. If there are any questions or any contribution, any feedback, I believe the floor is open now.
While the audience think of questions, we would like to share how InfoView can support you as a school to conduct the performance appraisal that our guest just went through. And then we'll take additional 10 minutes for any questions that you may have while we take you through that. So you can, if you have questions now too, we can do the Q&A now. But if you don't, we can take you through a 10 minutes demo of how InfoView application can support you in your end-to-end performance appraisal or teacher evaluation that you want to institute in your school.
Oh, yeah, Jeff, that's great. I should have mentioned that how we use InfoView to achieve our performance appraisal. So it's good that you're doing the illustration.
So Julian, can you let me show my screen so I can give a short demo of how this capability is available?
I believe someone has raised their hand. Leslie Mensah.
Yes.
Thanks for this. It was really informative. So clearly this is an automated evaluation package that you are presenting to us right now. Am I right?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. That's
yeah. So did you use it because you found that this is where you were in most need of efficiency, or because you found out about it and it was just trial and error and you liked it? You know, I want to know, if you're going to automate a part of your system, is this the one that you're saying was the most in need?
Hi, Leslie. So thanks for the question. Generally, we
No worries.
had our appraisal already before InfoView. So I reached out to the InfoView team asking if they could put it on their platform. And they actually mentioned that they had one. So it's customizable what InfoView has. So you will find that maybe what they have with their questions fits your institution. However, we customize all our questions and way of assessing and numbering, accumulating everything. So we were doing it way before joining InfoView and way before adding it onto InfoView. The reason we preferred to use InfoView was less paper. And also it was easy to have the facilitators just go on their phone and then check the rating. So it made it easy for them to just assess what has been written. Nonetheless, we do both. We still print out sometimes, and then we use InfoView but we mix it. Also because we have the learners appraisal, as I mentioned, so parents can easily go in and check what the facilitators have done for their learner in terms of we do it twice in a term. So before the midterm and then after the midterm, the facilitators go there to assess the learners. And so it makes it easier to have it on InfoView where they can assess it and not having to print out papers. And that's why we prefer to use InfoView. But this is something we were doing way ahead of time because it's extremely important.
Okay, but I'm still trying to drill down. If of all the things you could automate, because you could automate the report writing, you could automate the attendance, you could automate, you know, extraordinary things like, you know, what you're saying, the 360 approach to teaching children's behavior related to what's going on outside of the classroom. In other words, health and safety concerns. So did you find this to be the most important area where you needed to automate? Was that the reasoning behind it?
Oh, no. So we automate a lot, not just that. So when we brought InfoView, because you've seen the InfoView platform, they provide a lot of supports from attendance. So we use our staff would scan their ID cards and then it goes on InfoView, same as the learners. So attendance is done, punctuality that's covered. All their reports are done as well, automated. So we use the entire package InfoView. So it just makes it easier to everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, you can tailor make it to all and any need that you might have.
Precisely.
That's great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you too.
Okay, so in the absence of any further questions, I will switch over to Jeff so that he can share his screen and then demo how InfoView can help with teacher performance tracking.
Hello, good afternoon. I'll take a very brief time and then show you how the InfoView application can guide you to be able to do performance tracking, all the things that Ms. Prince Boateng has mentioned, how you can do end-to-end evaluation of your teacher performance. And then if there are any other questions, I'll be glad to take you through that. So one of the key things that mentioned is essentially the focus areas. Now, the focus areas, as she mentioned, is something that you can define for your school. In the InfoView platform, you can define that by customizing the standard performance evaluation capability in the system to meet your specific focus areas that you want to use to evaluate your employees. But the system already comes with a standard set of focus areas and also standard set of evaluations that you can use. And that's what I want to show you, the standard quickly, and then I will also show you how you can customize each of these specific assessment or performance evaluation per your school needs. So in our system, these are the modules. If you are a customer, you already know how the system works because we have a blend of customers and non-customers on this call. But the specific module that you use to customize the performance evaluation in specific areas of assessment per teacher or non-teaching staff, that is in setup and configuration area. When you go there, you can go to setup employee evaluation. And as already mentioned, there's a standard set of performance evaluations that comes with the system. So if you click on evaluation types, you see different types of evaluation that the system comes with, and also something that you can also add. So example is teacher observation guide. If you choose teacher observation guide, these are the set of assessment areas or categories that you can use to evaluate teachers. So example, this one is demonstrate knowledge of content. If you go that area, it will give you a specific set of questions, and each of these questions have a specific weight that you can customize again to pair your school. So this is a simple way to for schools that don't necessarily have an idea of how they want to start evaluating teachers. it comes standard with it, where you can actually pick something up that already comes with the system, and then you can then make changes to it. Or if you're a school and you want to create, you know what you want to do as far as performance evaluation, you can create one from scratch, where you can say that, for example, I want to create evaluation for, let's say, non-teaching staff. You can create that and add a set of categories, weights, and questions to it. And then that way you can make that available for your, let's say, your administration staff, head of administration, to be able to use to perform an evaluation of the non-teaching staff. Now, once you've customized it, let me walk you through how you can easily use the system to then do an evaluation of teacher. So for that, you can do that on the mobile app version of the system or the computer version of the system. I'm currently using the computer version of the system, and that is in staff and teacher management. Here, you simply click on the employee evaluation, and then you can search for the employee that you want to do the evaluation for. So you just type the employee name, you choose the employee name, and then it will ask you, okay, which assessment period do you want to do the evaluation? So you indicate, okay, I want to do evaluation from January, which is for second term, from January 6th to, let's say, April 30th. And if the teacher is a classroom teacher, you can indicate a class that the teacher is assigned to, or you can choose to if the teacher is a subject teacher, you can choose a specific subject that you want to evaluate the teacher for. So you can choose that this is, let's say, a teacher does teach business management, and if you can even do a specific topic by topic evaluation of the teacher. For now, I will not choose anything. I'll just go next. And here is a set of standard performance evaluation that comes with the system that you can easily start off with without having to think too hard. So first one, we have the teacher appraisal. And the teacher appraisal, this is the one that Ms. Ya was mentioning. We have the standard set of assessment areas, or we call them evaluation categories, that you can use. You have teacher observation guide, which you can also use, and that is for your head principals, where your head principal can go and sit into a class, pick a specific evaluation category, and do an evaluation of how the teacher is teaching in class, and the head principal can use the mobile version of the app without a laptop to be able to record all the observation guides. We also have the psychometric teaching assessment forms. These are international standard assessment forms, 3 categories of forms that you can use to evaluate teachers in terms of whether, teaching performance, atmosphere. You can evaluate based on comments or points. You can evaluate based on quality of work and attitude. And then, as I mentioned previously, you can also create your own custom set of evaluations that you can evaluate any staff, whether it's teaching or non-teaching staff in your school. So for now, let's just choose the one that Ms. Ya mentioned. They say teacher appraisal. So I'll pick that I want to do appraisal for these areas, which is planning and preparation, assessment, professionalism. Once you pick those 3 as your core appraisal areas, you click on begin, and it will ask you, are you sure these are what you want to evaluate on? You say yes, and then the system will prepare a set of questions. The set of questions, each one comes with a rating, and each of these ratings have a numeric value or weight behind it. So NE is never, R is rarely, O occasionally, M is most of the time, and A is all of the time. So for each of the questions, you evaluate the teacher. So it's a prepares and submit scheme of work to the scope and subsequence. You can choose, okay, most of the time, prepares, expands scheme of work. You can say all the time, writes objectives clear most of the time or occasionally. Once you rate the teacher for each of the questions, each of these answers responses that you are giving, the rating has a numeric weight behind it. And that numeric weight is something that you can customize. You look at the other assessment area, which is communicate clear standards for assessment to student. You rate the teacher. Again, based on all these questions. And again, all these questions are something that you can customize. You can add additional questions, or you can take out additional questions, or you can completely choose to create your own questions from scratch. So let me evaluate this teacher, and then we can even generate so once you have rated the teacher, you can put general observations. So I'll put here, Enoch had a great term, but needs to focus on the assessment of students. And then you can have, you can indicate which specific discussion points or areas you want to have, give feedback to the teacher. You can type that here, the plan for next term. And then suggestions, you can put suggestion 1, type your suggestion here, blah, 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 blah. You can add additional suggestion, and you type them here. Once you have completed that, you submit. Once you submit, what will happen is the system will automatically save the performance evaluation against this teacher's HR record in the system, and you can review it, and so you can also share with the teacher before you even have your one-on-one with the teacher. So here I go to the review section, and I can review assessment. This is the one I just did for a specific subject, but let me show you an assessment that I did for previous. So I can click on this one, and I can see that the assessment was done from January to April. These are the specific ratings or the specific assessments that I did for this particular teacher. And I can also look at the comments that I recorded for this particular teacher. Now, let's say that for your school, you want to actually have a paper-based filing of this assessment. You can generate it into PDF. So if I tap on generate PDF, it will convert all this information into a printable form where you can ask the teacher to then essentially sign the appraisal document. So if I tap on to say view, I can open the appraisal, and now you can see a teacher appraisal. It shows a class the teacher is in, the teacher's name, whether the teacher is a permanent or a contract staff. It will show if I indicated the department or the specific, if I did assessment for a specific class or subject, it will indicate that. It also shows the weights for each of the ratings, and then the assessment that was done for each of the assessment areas in regard to this particular teacher. And then also it gives you the ability to have the teacher sign if you want manual. Some schools prefer paper, but we encourage digital. This can also be digitally signed, and then the date. So this gives you a complete overview, end-to-end process for essentially automating your performance evaluation of your teachers or non-teaching staff from end to end. And in addition to, you can also send a copy of this performance evaluation to the teacher. If I decide that I click send, I can choose this evaluation and then send a copy of it after it is completed to the teacher, so the teacher can have a copy on his or her own email, and also be able to have it on file for any future reference that the teacher may need. Essentially, from end to end, teachers' evaluation, it can be customized, as I indicated earlier, by going to here, and you can customize the ratings that you currently want to use, and you can also customize the categories. So each of the ratings that I mentioned earlier, it has a specific rating weight against it. So you can customize a rating to say that a specific assessment categories, let's say the instructional process, that one should have more weight. You can change the weight here from 20% to, let's say, more 50%. And that means that that is where you want your teachers to improve the most. So from end to end, as I've shown you so far, it is flexible, it is customizable, and you don't have to start from scratch. It already comes with a set of performance evaluation templates that is used globally from in the education space that you can pick up and start using, or you can pick up and modify and start using without having to start from scratch. Any questions so far on what I have shared with you in regard to how you can use the InfoView platform for teacher performance evaluation or non-teaching staff evaluation? If you look here, we created an example of a canteen staff evaluation. Here, you can even use that or create your own to do performance evaluation of non-teaching staff, which is the canteen staff evaluation. Any questions on what I have shared with you so far?
Is it free?
Good question. It's not free. You have to subscribe.
Do you give us some insight into the pricing? Is it, does it have graded pricing or is it a flat fee? How does that work?
Okay, so what we do is that we have custom pricing. So we can schedule a one-on-one presentation and give you a general overview. Right now, we are only focusing on one feature so that you know what meets all your school needs. And then based on that, we can give you a custom pricing that will fit your budget.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other question? Okay, if there's no other question, Julian, I'll hand it back to you to continue the process on the webinar.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you so much for your insights. At this point, we would like to thank both of our speakers, that is Miss Prince Prince Boateng, sorry, from Crown Prince Academy, and Jeff for sharing such insightful and practical knowledge about teacher performance. If you're an InfoView customer and would like to activate this feature, simply send a message on your school's WhatsApp support group. Your customer representative will contact you and schedule a detailed training session for your team. If you're not an InfoView customer yet, but would like to join the InfoView customer family, we would love to hear from you. Call or WhatsApp us at 024-838-7629, as you can see on the screen. Email us at salesteam@idscorpgh.com, or you can simply scan the QR code or use the link on your screen to book a free demo. So that means you would circumvent calling and emailing us and go straight ahead to booking a free demo, where we'd be happy to walk you through how InfoView can transform your school. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time and wish you a productive and restful day ahead.
Thank you.